I want to start this video off by saying this video is not an endorsement of ChatGPT or other open AI models. This is simply an experiment. I decided the other day that since we're a little bit over a month away from the draft, I wanted to see what ChatGPT would come up with if I asked it to do a mock draft. This video, again, is not an endorsement of ChatGPT or other open AI models. It is simply an experiment that is going to test and see what that kind of model, what these kinds of models would end up doing if given that prompt. I want to point out as well, top of the description, there's a great video by a YouTube creator known as Bionic Pig talking about AI. He sums up everything that's wrong with it, how it's hurting creators, whether they're artists, writers, YouTubers, TikTokers, whatever they may be. He talks about how they're hurting creators and just the overall negative consequences of it. He does a way better job than I could do because he's far more educated on the topic and made a full scripted video. So definitely go check that out either now or at the end of this video or at some point. It's a great watch. It's very informational. Let's go ahead and dive into this. I'm just going to ask it straight up. Can you do a 2025 NFL mock draft? And it is going to give me team fits. It is going to give me player comparisons, scouting reports, and it's going to do one pick at a time. I think instead of one pick at a time, let's do picks 1 to 5. Let's get a chunk here. So already with the first pick, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado to the Bears. Not only do the Bears not have the number 1 overall pick, but they don't need a quarterback. And even if you're not a big fan of Caleb Williams, I think anyone that has watched those two quarterbacks play will vehemently agree that Caleb Williams is substantially better than Shedeur Sanders, even with some of his struggles last year. So that is insane. We're also talking about they moved on from Justin Fields. Yeah, a calendar year ago. Okay. So we're calling him a composed pocket passer. Don't agree with that. With elite accuracy. He has incredible ball placement, but I don't know if I'd say that his overall accuracy. It's a little inconsistent, especially in the intermediate range. Sure, that's probably where I'd say he's best. He's improved his pocket movement, sure, and showed toughness behind a shaky Colorado O-line in 2024. Can't disagree with that. He did look better last year, but still not great. Player comparison, Dak Prescott with better pocket presence. That's insane. Off to a fantastic start with that one. Okay. The Patriots, Luther Burden out of Missouri. Don't disagree with that one. He would be my wide receiver too. I'd probably say Tet McMillan would be a better fit here just because I think the Patriots need like a true game wrecker, and I think Tet McMillan can be that. But, you know, I can't disagree with Burden. I think he has the potential to be that as well, just to a slightly lesser degree. He's explosive off the line, combining sharp route running with elite yards after catch ability. Absolutely. He's physical, competitive, has a knack for finding soft spots in zone coverage. Sure. And he's comp to Debo. That makes sense. I'll say 1 for 2 in terms of picks, 0 for 2 in terms of who's picking, because I think they're just using the 2024 draft order. Never mind. We have the Cardinals at 3. Taking Jared Verse. Okay, so Jared Verse is not in the draft. He's a Ram, won Defensive Rookie of the Year. They do need to improve their pass rush, which they did in free agency. Much credit to him. The Josh Sweat pickup was great. But it would be nice to see them have another dominant guy opposite him. Verse would absolutely be that if he were available or if the Cardinals had this pick. Let's see here. Scouting report. Verse wins with power and speed, showing violent hands and relentless pursuit. Sure, he's a 3-down force who can play both standing up and with his hand in the dirt. Don't disagree with that. Player comparison. Hassan Reddick with more natural bend. What are we doing, man? Hassan Reddick with more bend as a comp for Jared Verse. Okay. For reference, I believe my comp for Jared Verse last year was Ryan Kerrigan, who was a career 4.3 end and wasn't very bendy. And if you've watched Jared Verse, you know that he's not very bendy. He just has overwhelming physical tools and a great motor and an incredible bull rush, and that's how he was winning last year. Certainly was not with Ben. Pick number 4, the Giants taking Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. I don't disagree with the Giants taking a receiver, but with Tet McMillan and Matthew Golden and Travis Hunter all on the board, I think this is a little rich for Emeka. Like, they definitely need a true wide receiver one, and he is very polished. He offers immediate reliability for Daniel Jones, who is now with the Colts. And then scouting report, elite footwork, precise route running, strong hands, smooth, constantly fine separation. Don't inherently disagree with any of that. Player comparison, Keenan Allen with a bit more straight line speed. I don't know about the straight line speed part, but I can see a world where you pull Egbuka and Keenan Allen together. That's an all right comp. So I would say so far they're doing 3 for 4 on what these teams need, 1 for 4 on the actual picks, and 3 for 4 on picking players that are actually in the draft this year. Let's see here. Washington Commanders also take a quarterback, Quinn Ewers out of Texas. With uncertainty at quarterback, yeah, Jaden Daniels didn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year or anything. Jaden Daniels didn't lead them to the NFC title game or anything. No, they're uncertain at quarterback. It says Ewers provides Washington with a big-armed passer capable of igniting their offense. I'm going to be honest, I haven't scouted Quinn Ewers yet. I haven't watched him outside of watching Golden and the other Texas receiver whose name's escaping me at the moment. So I'm not going to sit here and critique their scouting report. I definitely don't think he plays like Matt Stafford, at least from what I was seeing. And again, that was more from me scouting his teammates. So the first 5 are rough. So let's see 6 to 10 here. Tennessee Titans, Kelvin Banks. That one makes sense. Obviously, they just signed Dan Moore to a big contract, but Dan Moore is terrible. He's not really a starting caliber tackle. So the Titans kind of going, you know what? We fucked up this contract. Let's go get another tackle in the draft. I can't be mad at that. The Titans need long-term protection for Will Levis. I don't think it's going to be Will Levis. I'm firmly in the Cam Ward is going to be QB1 for the Titans, which I guess in this situation wouldn't be possible, but you get my point. I think at 6 over Kelvin Banks, they would be much better off taking Cam Ward, who's still there, but I digress. Moving on. Saints with Malachi Starks out of Georgia. With Tyrann Mathieu aging, Starks offers a rangy, versatile playmaker for the Saints secondary. Sure. You know what? Tyrann Mathieu did just restructure his contract, so he's going to be around for a little bit, but you can absolutely run 3 safety sets with those 2 and Justin Reed, who they just added, so I can't be too mad at that one. I think there's more pressing needs for the Saints, but sometimes you want to just get a good player. So don't necessarily despise that one. The Broncos taking James Pierce. Okay. I don't love James Pierce. I have a round 2 grade on him at the moment. I'm just not a big fan of his run defense. I'm not a big fan of some of the character concerns that are coming with him. But, you know, I also wouldn't say they lack consistent pass rush production. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, no, they just talked me out of that with that one because their edge room is really nice. I don't see Pierce as a need. Ashton Genty would be on the board at this point. Denver desperately needs a running back. You could add another tight end here. I know they just added Evan Ingram, but never hurts to have 2. You could go with the secondary, bulk that up a little bit because there were some struggles there. There's a couple different places you could go. I don't hate Pierce, but I don't think that's the pick I'd make here. Vikings at 9, not where they're picking, going with Will Campbell. Well, they already have 2 really good tackles. I know Darrisaw's coming off a pretty big injury, but I don't think you're taking insurance at 9 for a tackle who's under the age of 30. And they just bulked up their interior by adding Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. I guess that other guard spot, you can make an argument that Campbell could slot in there, and I wouldn't hate that. But again, a team with other needs, I would say. But sure, you know what? I'll play devil's advocate to myself. You're trying to protect JJ McCarthy at all costs. So I don't hate that one. Again, weird that the Vikings are picking at 9 when they're picking in the late 20s, but that's neither here nor there. And the Falcons stealing division rival Kool-Aid McKinstry from the Saints here at pick 10. I do agree. I liked Kool-Aid a lot coming out last year. He was I don't remember where he ranked among my corners, but he was higher than his teammate Terrion Arnold, which I know wasn't exactly a super popular take. But, I mean, if he was available, sure. But he's not. All right, let's check out picks 11 to 15. The Raiders taking the edge rusher out of Ohio State, JT. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name yet. I need to look that up, and will probably call myself out in post for not being able to do so. But it says pairing JT with Max Crosby gives the Raiders a dangerous pass rushing tandem. His versatility as both a pass rusher and run defender fits their defensive identity. Sure, I think this is a solid pick. There's edge rushers that I like a little bit more, namely Michael Williams still on the board, Abdul Carter still on the board. So it's a bit interesting in terms of that being the edge rusher they want, but this can make sense. I'm personally a very big Tyree Wilson fan. I think he did great last year. So I don't think drafting an edge rusher this high would be something they need to do. I would probably focus more at running back again. You know, they're a team that's sitting at 6 in real life. Genty could absolutely be the pick. There could also be a world where they go wide receiver, which could be big for Geno Smith. So I don't love this pick, but I can at least kind of see the appeal here. Packers taking Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas. Also not available. Also just got arrested. Which I think that ended up working out in his favor. I honestly haven't kept up with it enough. But with Christian Watson's inconsistency and Romeo Doubs lacking speed, Worthy gives Jordan Love a true field stretching threat. Sure, again, I see the process with this one. I see the mindset. I do think wide receiver is absolutely in play for the Packers in the first round, but Xavier Worthy is not going to be the pick because he's not available. And then the Colts taking Brock Bowers. Okay, this was a very, very popular mock draft pick last year because the Colts don't have a real tight end. Obviously, they need someone who can complement Pittman. He's a dynamic mismatch who can lie anywhere on the field. We all know what he is. Set rookie records last year. Incredible football player. If this said Tyler Warren instead of Brock Bowers, I would say that's a great pick. But unfortunately, Brock Bowers is not available. Again, okay, finally, the Seahawks taking a player that is available in Barrett Carter. With Bobby Wagner, who is on the Commanders aging, Carter provides Seattle with a rangy linebacker who can defend sideline to sideline. Don't like this pick. I haven't watched Carter, so excuse me for my ignorance towards his play, but the Seahawks, again, are a team that have much more pressing needs. The interior of the offensive line, the wide receiver core. You just re-signed Ernest Jones to a big contract. You don't need a linebacker. You could add in the secondary. There are plenty of places they could add outside of linebacker, so I don't think adding any linebacker, whether it's Barrett Carter, Jihad Campbell, Sean Dolich, I believe it's Dolich, I know, just lit up some sort of testing, a pro day or something. He looked great at that. It wouldn't have been a pro day. I don't think we're in pro day time yet. Regardless, point is, I wouldn't take any linebacker for the Seahawks here. I think that's a kind of a crazy pick. And then the Steelers here are taking Kamari Lassiter, the corner out of Georgia. Good ball player. Played great for the Texans last year. Was someone who made me eat my words with my draft grade on him. I gave the Texans like a B or a B- for trading up for him. He looked great. The Steelers could use another physical corner. Lassiter, again, just isn't available. So we're almost halfway through here, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different players that have been taken. 1/3 of the picks so far are players that are just not available to be drafted. So let's see 16 to 20 here. The Rams taking Leonard Taylor out of Miami. Okay, this is the worst one so far. I loved Leonard Taylor last year. I was very big on him. I'm really shocked he went undrafted, but there's a reason he did. The league just isn't as high on him as I was. He looked good for the Jets for a little bit last year. But you're telling me at 16, the Rams would take a guy who went undrafted to put on an already stacked defensive line. You have Kobe Turner, who's one of the best 3 techniques in the sport. You have Poona Ford, who you just added to be your nose tackle. And you have Braden Fisk, who I was very wrong about, I will say wholeheartedly. If you're a Rams fan that watches my videos, you know I was very not high on that pick. And it has panned out very well because I was too focused on the weaknesses and wasn't looking at the fact that the Rams can scheme around them. So, that being said, you have those 3 guys on the interior, and then obviously Verse and Byron Young, which isn't super relevant for talking about interior guys, but don't love that one. It also brings up Aaron Donald, who's now been gone for 2 years. So that's a really bad one. Bad fit, bad, like an absolute not need, not BPA, not available in the draft, and not good value. Just all around horrific. Next pick here, Carson Beck to the Buccaneers. With Baker Mayfield's future uncertain, they just signed him to a multi-year extension. That's where I'm going to leave that one. Baker Mayfield just got a multi-year extension. Okay, Jaguars, Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. Another player I haven't watched yet. Unfortunately, I need to get around to him. Watched a ton of interior linemen, but not him, surprisingly. But the point here is, they say Jacksonville's offensive line needs a dominant interior presence to protect Trevor Lawrence. They've made a couple moves, but I wouldn't be upset at them adding another guy. Gray Zabel is still here, though, someone that I think is absolutely incredible. Again, I haven't watched Jackson, so maybe Zabel's not quite as good, but regardless, I think that's an interesting one. Also, again, another team with a lot of needs. Tight end is a big one. Could have taken Tyler Warren here. Just curious. Cincinnati Bengals, Tony Mitchell out of Alabama. No clue. But the Bengals going defense. Sure, we'll take that one. The Texans going Jatavion Sanders out of Texas. Again, not available. And also, I don't think you guys need a tight end with Dalton Schultz and Brevin Jordan. I would draft an offensive lineman here, considering the Texans have no one left. Really weird stuff there. Let's go ahead and go to 21 to 25. Everything about this has been terrible. Okay, the Dolphins going with Princely. Interesting. They just restructured Bradley Chubb. They just drafted Chop Robinson High, who looked really good as a rookie. I'd be okay with more edge depth for them. But again, this is another team where I think maybe you want to look at the offensive line. You could add some bulk there. Tight end. I know Johnny Smith looked great, but Mike McDaniel, goodness, his name escaped me for a moment. I'm sure he would love to have another legit, like an actual inline tight end. Tyler Warren's still there. He's someone I've seen a lot of Dolphins fans get excited about. I don't hate the Princely pick, but between thinking there's guys that are better on the board and just thinking the value is, or the fit isn't ideal, or let me rephrase that, not the fit, the position. I think the Dolphins should go a different position is what I'm trying to say. That one's not great. Cowboys, Troy Franklin, another player that is not available in the draft. Don't hate the idea of the Cowboys going receiver, though. I could certainly entertain that. Chargers, Cooper Beebe, another player that is not available, but I like the position fit. Going with an interior lineman. They just signed Mekhi Becton. I know Bradley Bozeman got a 2-year extension. He's not good. And Zion Johnson has been kind of underwhelming. So I wouldn't hate Harbaugh going, you know what, we're going to take BB, who was a guard in college, played center last year for the Cowboys and looked really good at it. I wouldn't hate going, he can play one of the spots if one of these two guys doesn't clean their act up, and then long-term Bozeman's not going to be around. So, again, good player, good fit, but not available. Not someone the Chargers can pick. The Lions, JT Sanders, the tight end out of Texas. Is this not just Jatavion? Am I crazy? Jesus, I can't type. Yeah, that's just Jatavion Sanders again. Okay. You're on one today, man. We'll just go ahead and skip over that one. I do think the idea of the Lions taking a guy who isn't available, like doubly isn't available, not only isn't in the draft, but has already been picked, is really funny. And then the Ravens, Denzel Burke, sure. Marlon Humphrey isn't the healthiest guy in the world. They just lost Brandon Stevens. Sure, I don't hate that. maybe not the corner I'd go with, but I can at least understand the pick here. And then these are going to be the last couple. The Bills taking Jalen McMillan, another player that isn't available. I also don't think the Bills need to go wide receiver. They just added Josh Palmer to be a really nice Z for them. They have Amari Cooper on roster. They have Keon Coleman, who I'm still a pretty big fan of. Really started to see an uptick in play and production and everything as the season went on last year. And then Khalil Shakir is one of the best slot receivers in football. So no, I don't like that one bit. Jerzon Newton to the Jets, another one that I don't think is very good. I don't think, well, I mean, again, not available, first of all, but second of all, I don't love that fit. I think the Jets have more pressing needs. The Cardinals getting Rome Odunze, my boy, who's not available. Also, don't think the Cardinals need to get another receiver. You look at their receiver room right now with Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, I'm a big fan of. Greg Dortch, I'm a big fan of. So maybe I'm a little bit biased there. Rome would be their wide receiver too, pretty easily, but don't like the idea of them stealing him from Chicago for no reason. The Niners going with Jaheim Bell. Interesting because, again, another player that, like, the fit is good. This is the type of tight end that I'm sure Shanahan would love, but he's not available. And also wasn't a first-round pick last year. He went on day 3, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a tough one. The Chiefs adding Johnny Wilson because, of course, they would. Again, not available on the Eagles right now, but adding a towering red zone threat to complement their dynamic, quick twitch playmakers. Sure, giving Mahomes a true X is not a bad idea. Johnny Wilson is probably not where I would have went with that, though. So, just a weird pick there. And then the Eagles at 31, Andrew Mukuba. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I apologize if I'm wrong. This is actually a good pick. A versatile, defensive back that can play safety, can play the nickel. They just traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He would be a replacement right away. So I like this one. This is actually a really good pick here towards the end. And then the Browns taking Braylon Trice, who is not available. He's currently an Atlanta Falcon. Man. So how many picks in this were just players that were drafted last year? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So half of this draft, I'm looking over at my second monitor, like my camera isn't right here. Half of this draft was players that aren't available to be drafted, that were drafted last year already on teams. This is absolute slop. This is terrible. There's nothing good about this. I just did something that honestly I don't feel morally great about from using ChatGPT like this. I'm sure that I just hurt the environment in some terrible way that someone's going to let me know in the comments below, and it's going to keep me up at night all for the sake of running a stupid experiment. But this was terrible. This was not an enjoyable experience. AI is terrible. ChatGPT is terrible. If you want to see a mock draft, look for your favorite creators. Go on Twitter and find one of the billions on there. Just look up mock draft. Don't go to ChatGPT. I have seen people on Twitter over the past couple of weeks being like, ChatGPT thinks we can get so-and-so at pick this and this. And it's like, no, you're not going to probably. Like I saw a Bears mock draft the other day. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. If I can, I'll pop it up on the screen. But it was someone talking about like, this is what ChatGPT thinks the Bears could do. And it was like Ashton Genty, then Michael Williams, then James Pierce, then Gray Zabel, and then like Tet McMillan in the 5th round or some dumb shit. And like, maybe that was a little bit of a troll, but I wouldn't put it past ChatGPT. I mean, you look at this draft that they just did, or that we just did. Tet McMillan wasn't a part of it. Abdul Carter wasn't a part of it. Travis Hunter wasn't a part of it. Ashton Genty wasn't a part of it. Tyler Warren wasn't here. Just all of like a lot of the big name players. The only big name players that were here, you have a couple of the quarterbacks. Shador, Luther Burden was here. Emeka, Quinn Ewers was here, but even then he's like a day 2, day 3 pick from my understanding. Kelvin Banks was here. James Pierce was here. Will Campbell. So they did go with the tackles. JT, who I don't think is a round 1 edge rusher. Just overall really, really bad stuff, man. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope it all taught you how bad ChatGPT can be. I'm going to be honest, the primary reason I did this is because I have not had any opportunity to record an actual video over the past week or so, and I don't want to just not post for 2 weeks. So I figured this was a fun experiment. Went about as I expected it to. It went very, very poorly. Also, make sure to leave a like down below, as it does help out the channel a ton. It shows your support, it shows you care, and I really do appreciate it. But with all that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you enjoy it, because you're all wonderful people, and you truly do deserve it.
Had a chance on the throwback. This was an ill-advised throw. What an unbelievable catch by Cole Kmet. And he cups it too. No movement when he hits the ground, tucked up against his shoulder. Wow.
Using that